Hello and welcome back to the channel where we cover Kenjutsu and other weapons principles that you can apply to your own style. Thank you again for liking and subscribing to the channel. Learning any weapon art is very difficult unless you understand the three basic principles underlying each weapon art. Those three principles are natural movement, efficiency of movement, and connection. In the last video, we covered generating the power for the weapon with the hips. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to more focus on natural movement and efficiency of motion to coordinate that with the hips. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a Jo technique that will help you develop your natural movement and help you understand how to put power into a weapon to control it using natural movement. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a technique from Saito Sensei because I think it generally shows the best way to learn natural movement in a Jo. So what I'm going to do is show this simple exercise from Saito Sensei, and I'm going to show it a little bit differently than he trains, but I think this will help you if you are a student of Saito Sensei. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the basic movement that Saito Sensei uses, and then I'm going to show you how to put power into the weapon and use the natural movement of the Jo and when to put the power into the weapon. Okay, so first start by moving your hips back and forth and just getting the Jo to just go back and forth. So you're going to just learn, how can I move my hips in such a way that I'm moving the weapon with my hips and I'm not using my wrist to do the movement. So that's just take some practice, get it to parallel, and just feel like, how can I move that weapon back and forth? That's the first step. Okay, now the next step is I'm gonna step forward with my hips and pull my hips back. And as I step forward, so as the Jo is swinging, as the Jo gets to the behind me, I'm going to move forward. So as the Jo gets behind me, I'm going to move forward. And I'm going to take my hand from this side of my body and move it to this side of my body because I don't want to hit myself with a weapon. So as it's swinging, I'm going to swing forward, move my hand to the opposite side, let it swing, and then move to the back side. So this looks like this. Just going back and forth. So I'm going to swing, I'm going to go forward and back, and then up into this position. So do that, 3,000 or 4,000 times until you get this natural motion. Natural motion. Okay, now that you've got this natural motion and you can move this Jo in a natural flowing figure 8 motion, now you're ready to add some power. In the beginning, people try to put power into the weapon. They're going to go pushing down on the weapon and then spinning it like this. So it looks like this. They're going to go down and then up. So they're actually using power against the weapon in this direction. And that's basic. That's just normal. Normal to use your body, your body motion to get the weapon to move. So what's more correct, or getting your hips to move this weapon is this. As I'm moving forward, I'm going to put the power in the long axis of the weapon. So instead of putting it like this on this, coming from the side, I'm going to have the power coming through the end of the weapon. And a lot of people, they call this ki or ki flow, or the ki flowing out the end of the weapon. But what it's really describing is the power is going to go in the long axis direction instead of this direction. So how do you get that? Well, when you're going this way and you're letting it naturally swing, if I put the power in front of the technique or with the technique, then I'm going to have to drive it in that sideways direction. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the power behind the technique. So as the Jo is spinning, I'm going to put the power in when I'm going in the long axis of the Jo. So I'm actually, when it's swinging, I'm putting the power right here where I'm developing the power going in this direction and not this direction. It's very hard to control. It takes a lot of skill to get the weapon to go where you want it to go by doing this, but with practice and time, you'll be able to get there. So here, I'm gonna go push and pull the weapon in the long axis. So speed up it just a little bit more. I can even start from this position and do the same thing turning around, where I'm pulling the power through the weapon. Or I can start from here. So generally we've been starting from here and going to here, but I can also just turn my hand from the normal grab. I can turn my hand, I can do the same thing, a little more advanced going forward here. So let's review this just to give a brief summary. So start the weapon going back and forth, and then as you step forward, let it spin to the other side and then pull it back. So do this many times until this feels natural to you. Because if you start doing it, you're going to hit yourself with the weapon. So get it to where you're keeping the weapon out in front of yourself. You're spinning it, but you're keeping it out in front of yourself. Because you don't want to pull the weapon to you. You could hit your hand, your leg. So again, going forward, let it spin, and coming back. And then when you want to add power, just add the power, add the power, add the power in the hip. So you'll feel when you need to add power into the weapon. And like I say, this is the best way to start to use the Jo, but these principles can be applied to naginata, bojutsu, kenjutsu, any other weapon art. You can apply this. Now, if you want to apply these skills directly to Aikido, I suggest studying Saito Sensei's weapons work. And if you want to apply this to Katori Shinto-ryu, then I highly recommend looking into Sugawara Sensei's Jo and BOKKEN work. What you can do is you can take this basic principle that I've shown you with this simple Jo movement and apply that to pretty much any weapon art that you're studying. If you have any questions or comments about future Jo videos you'd like, just let me know in the comments below.